I'm assuming, and when we get to our meditation part, um, it's going to be sitting upright. It's going to be feet on the floor, and arms and hands on your lap, and as fairly upright as you can be. Phones off, please, for this session. It's just 45 minutes. Can you be without your phone for 45 minutes? Bring yourself to the present moment, just focusing on you for 45 minutes. Temperature, are you warm enough? We can get a bit cool in meditation, so get a blanket if there's one to hand, but hopefully if you're warm enough, get a jacket if you need to be, and a paper and pen. Going to do a little bit of writing, not too much. Just waiting for somebody to come back now. Obviously gone to get a jacket or a blanket. Wonderful. Okay, so if we're all set, we shall begin. So what is mindfulness meditation? Has anybody in the room practiced meditation or mindfulness before? Does anybody have any ideas about it? We've got a thumbs up. Do you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, I've tried it, and I do practice mindfulness, and I've done a meditation course. I struggle because I'm a really active, creative person. My mind's always busy, so I find going off for a quick nap is easier than meditating. So I'm really interested to learn some tips today on how, as you say, busy people can be mindful and meditate.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, that's good to hear that you're trying it, and it's all about actually trying to be doing little and often, and doing small pieces of meditation is the key, really. Even just a minute a day can really help. But we'll talk a bit more about it. I've just got a message in the chat from Stephanie. But you've got someone with you, Stephanie. If you're happy and you know what happens, or you get any kind of feeling of any kind of attack coming on, please just come out of the meditation and do what you need to do. But if you're happy to do the meditation, please do. If you're worried, then just sit the meditation out and just observe and listen, if that's okay. Okay, but thank you, Rebecca, for sharing with that. And have you found it beneficial when you have?
Oh, definitely. And doing a mindfulness course has helped me. So from going for a walk, for example, I'll practice, I'll think about the birds, or try and listen for the sounds or the crunch of the ground under my feet. And also it stops the sort of science behind it, or the theory behind it, stops me catastrophizing. It can help me bring right to the now. I can ground myself rather than thinking about something that might happen. And so the principles of it I love, and definitely does help. You're absolutely right. It's so worthwhile.
Brilliant. Well, that's good to hear. And a walk is a really good example of mindfulness, because so often we can go for a walk and our minds can wander and we start thinking about work, don't we? We think, oh, what a good opportunity to be productive. What a great opportunity to start thinking about what I've got to do in the rest of the day. And then you get back home, and I don't know about you, but when I've done that, I feel a bit irritated. I feel a bit demotivated. I'm not really as energized to do the work that I had planned in my walk. So then I learned more about mindfulness and realized that, oh, hang on, I've been going for a walk in the wrong way all the time. I should be in the walk, not in work in the walk, if that makes sense. So by doing exactly that, which you've described, is about bringing some awareness to the sensations of our bodies, because we're so practiced, aren't we, in being busy. We're so practiced in not being mindful. We're really good at not being mindful because that's how we kind of work. That's how we are in the West. So that's why we have to use the sensations of the body to become present. So when we go for a walk, we can do exactly that. What can I see? You can ask yourself that question and really look. And guess what happens when you ask that? Your head comes up. You stop looking at the ground where your thoughts are, and your head's popped down because you're thinking about the future, perhaps. Your head pops up and you look out and you go, oh, I never noticed that. Or look at the chimney up there. I've never noticed that chimney. So these are just simple tricks and ways to make us present for what we're doing. And that's what we're trying to achieve, is to become present for now. If you're on your walk, be in your walk. If you're eating a meal, be with your meal. It sounds so simple, but it's quite a difficult thing to do. We're so out of practice of it. But with some practice and with some kind of structure to our practice, we can achieve it. So I just managed to click on the slide. Here we go. So this is the guy who's responsible for you guys being in a room with me right now. This is the guy that brought mindfulness meditation to the West, and he brought this over about 40 years ago. John Kabat-Zinn is a professor of psychology at Massachusetts University, or he's an ex-professor, retired now. But he studied Zen Buddhism, and this is where mindfulness kind of comes from. And he stripped away the religious context of it and the framework, and got down to the nuts and bolts of mindfulness, and came up with the mindfulness-based stress reduction program, which is used all over the world in clinics and hospitals. We use it in our business because it's an 8-week program, and it has some incredible effective results for people who just want to experience better presence in their life, reduce stress, develop resilience, and reduce depression. So this is the guy, John Kabat-Zinn. It's been going 40 years, and it's been he's introduced this into even to the military for combatants to be able to help them perform out in the field. So it's used by the army. It's used in clinics for pain relief. So there's wonderful, wonderful ways in which his program and his kind of work has helped people. Mindfulness is described as coming into a certain type of awareness of the present moment with non-judgment and open focus. Coming into a certain type of awareness. And by that, we kind of mean an awareness that we have taken an observational stance on things. It's a bit like the guy that's sitting there on the cliff edge, just looking out to the mountains. And hopefully that gives a slight feel to the type of awareness that we're trying to cultivate. And by being present and being non-judgmental, and by that I mean perhaps not judging your judgments, because our judgments will always fly up. We always have judgments on things, don't we? But if we can not get attached to them too much, if we can just notice that we're judging, we can make better informed decisions. We can be less reactive. We can do lots of other wonderful things if we're present for what we're thinking, present for what we're feeling. So better decisions, better leadership, better team and home relationships. You get to choose your reactions. You get to choose a better reaction to stress and your emotional state when you're fully present for how you are. But the problem is we get a little bit caught up in in mindfulness, what we call pre-living and past living. And pre-living is that stuff that you may be doing on your walk, where you're thinking about your checklists and thinking about where I've got to be. Where have I got to be in a couple of hours' time? Or where have I got to be after this mindfulness session today with the Birmingham Law Society? What have I got to do? I've got to think about all these things. That's pre-living. You're trying to be somewhere that you cannot be because you're right here, right now. And that causes anxiety. Anxiety is often about worry about the future. Past living, well, that's rumination, isn't it? That's regrets, things that we should have done. Oh, I should have done this. If only if I'd done this, this wouldn't have happened. And we tend to get attached to these ways of thinking. So if you think about it, if we're worried about the future, or we're worried about the past, clinging on to the past, or trying to change what might happen, or perceive what might happen, we tend to forget the right now, the present moment. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we're not thinking about the future in the present moment. We can still plan, we can still plan, because that might be the activity you're doing right now. We can plan, we can put a good structure and think about what's going to happen. But then we leave it when we're finished, and we come back to what we're doing now. Come back to being aware of how we are now and what we're doing now. That creates mental space, because while we're churning around with this pre-living, while we're churning around with this kind of anxious thoughts and checklists and to-do lists, we start to use up mental energy. And your brain uses up the most, is the organ that uses the most energy in the body. So that's a lot of energy being used up if we're constantly thinking about things. So by coming into the present moment, by witnessing our thoughts, by not getting tangled up with the anxieties and some of the worries that we have, we create space. We therefore become more productive. We can be more productive in our work, we're more present for it, more present for our families, more present for most of our life. Eventually, after practice, eventually joy and calm can enter our lives through the practice of meditation and mindfulness. But how do we do it? How do we do this thing called mindfulness? Well, first, let's look at a couple of modes. Stephanie's smiling. She likes this graphic page. She saw this one yesterday. We did a talk at Stephanie's firm yesterday. So doing mode and being mode. So doing mode, as you can imagine, it's checklists, it's strategizing, it's critical thinking, it's multitasking. It's just doing lots of stuff, isn't it? Physically and mentally. Being mode, on the other hand, is a conscious pausing, a slowing down, a focusing on the present moment, checking in to how we are, checking in, noticing our thoughts, noticing our feelings, noticing how we're doing. But most of our time spent here, isn't it? Most of our time we think we need to just be busy. Gotta be busy. Oh, must do something. Like to be busy. But say you go to the gym. If any of you in the room go to the gym, and maybe you have a routine at your gym. Maybe you're doing lots of weights at one point, maybe you're doing some running. It seems pretty natural to think that you're going to have a little break between each session, doesn't it? Have a little rest between each of your reps. Lactic acid builds up in your muscles, you start to get cramps, you know that you need to rest, let that resolve, and then you can start your next session. But why don't we do that with our minds? Because we're doing the same thing, we're actively using our minds just as we're actively using our muscles. Don't we need to give our minds a bit of a break? Give our minds a rest to process what we've just done. And that's exactly what we need to do. That's exactly how we can be mindful and how therefore we can build resilience in a day and throughout our lives. Does that make sense so far? Yeah? Anybody got anything they want to say on that? Anyone got any thoughts or anything on being busy and doing mode versus being mode? The consequences of your actions in the morning will start to build up in the back of your mind. All the emails you send, all the people you talk to, the clients you speak to, the times maybe you're in court or whatever you're doing in your job, in your role. All those consequences may be playing out in the back of your head. You may not become completely consciously aware of them, but your mind's trying to figure out what you've done and what the consequence of your action is. By checking in, just occasionally throughout your day, you can start to process that. Think about, oh, I sent that email. Okay, that means that, but it's going to be okay. This is going to happen perhaps. You can start to think about maybe what will happen. You start to relax and then you move on. Instead, if we don't check in during the day, we can build up this kind of wave of stress and worry that can accumulate from some of the actions that we've done. And then by 3, 4 o'clock, we can start to feel fatigue, feel tired. It's because we're kind of sprinting when we should be walking, taking breaks, or think of it more of as a marathon, not a sprint.
I would actually say that's really important because we need to maintain resilience throughout the day. And one of the things that I do, I'm delighted when I'm in the doing mode and I'm ticking things off my to-do list and everything else. But the problem is, if you sent 10 emails in the morning, the likelihood is you're going to get at least 5 responses in the afternoon. So they're kind of back on your to-do list. And I think if you don't take time out, whether it's a walk, whether it's just a coffee, whether it's just checking in time, then actually you don't ever get to the end of your to-do list because it's back on it again. And that's one of my issues. I to be honest, I multitask far too often.
This is the thing, isn't it? So we end up multitasking as well, but it's a great point. So, but how are you perhaps at 3 or 4 o'clock? Are you the same person that you were at kind of 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning?
No.
Probably not. You know, we could be slightly more irritated, we could, I mean, we put on our professional face, we know how to act, we can be self-aware, but perhaps we could be much better thinking, much clearer thinking, if we checked in during the day, allowed our brains to process some of the things that we'd done, be much more relaxed, because whenever we're relaxed, we perform better.
Yeah.
That's the same in anything, whether it's a physical activity or whether it's a mental activity. When we start to get tense and we start to get worried, certain areas of our brain will start to shut down, and we're not using the full capacity of our minds to the best extent that we can as humans. So it is about creating resilience. It's about actually having the discipline of stopping, because we can get a bit addicted, can't we, to the doing. We get a bit into it, and the checklist, and yeah, great, and it gives us a bit of a dopamine hit, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing to feel good from your work. But it can become, just like health and fitness can become, just like running can become a bit of an addiction to people, we can start to become a bit addicted to work. So it's a discipline in itself to pause, to slow down, to reflect, to check in. But the resilience it provides is massive, and therefore you'll be more productive in your work. So this isn't about doing less. This is about doing less or being less to then be able to do more, if that's what your goal is. But you're never going to be able to work till 10 o'clock at night just doing. And I know some of you guys probably working till 10 o'clock at night. In order to do that and achieve that and not burn out from that, check in, even if it's just 60 seconds a few times a day. Be with your meal, just eat your meal, and try it. Try and reduce the multitasking. Try and just be with what you're doing. And you'll notice a difference in a very quick space of time. So, being mode. I think we should try some, shouldn't we? We've been talking about it. This is one of the things with mindfulness. We can intellectually understand it, but it's no substitute for the practice needed to make it work. We have to do the work. So let's work on being. So if you'll join me in this meditation, I'm going to do a body scan meditation for you. And really this theme of today is you only have moments to live. You only have moments to live. They are only the places that you're alive, the present moment. So let's do the body scan. So the body scan is designed for you to get in touch with your body, because this is where your emotional feeling comes from. When you're emotional, you feel it in your body. And it's important we talk about emotions because we're human, and emotions are involved in your work. How you feel about different things is involved in your work, and everything you do, every email you get, there's an emotional response. The better tuned you are into your body, the better you can respond to the needs of yourself and what you think. We then don't accumulate reaction, get stressed throughout the day because we've actually checked in and we've got better tuned into our body. So the body scan is a meditation that we can learn to actually understand the messages, let's say, that our body gives us. So I'll give you an example. When you feel sad or when you feel gutted or have grief, you'll tend to feel it in your stomach. When you're feeling anxious, you'll feel it in your stomach. When you feel angry, you'll probably more feel it in your chest. Yeah, there might be a tightening, a bracing. But when we start to notice this a bit more, we can stay and go, whoa, hang on, let me check in. I'm sensing something here. Something's not right. And then we start to build better intuition, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing to develop through mindfulness. Anyway, lots of talk. Let's get on with the meditation. So a body scan can be performed lying down, but many of you in a seat, and a seat is a perfect place for meditation. It doesn't have to be cross-legged. You don't have to try and levitate. You just need to be able to sit comfortably. So straight back and your neck's vertical, and then just bring your eyes to a close whenever you're ready to. And as though you're looking out, but looking into the back of your eyelids. The head remains upright. Feet are on the floor. Can you get a sense of your feet on the floor? The support of the floor. With your hands on your lap, can you get a sense of the support that your hands have just by relaxing and letting go of your arms. And now start to come in to some awareness of your breath. Where is your breath most noticeable for you? Maybe it's your abdomen. Maybe you're noticing the rise and the fall. Maybe your chest. Or maybe it's your nose. Maybe you're noticing the cool air entering and the warm air leaving. Wherever it is, just cultivate an awareness of it. Not trying to change it in any way. Not changing the pace or the depth. Just being aware of how it is right now. We use the breath in what we call an anchor, because the breath is always now. Each breath has its own moment. So the breath is kind of like our distraction. It's our place to come. If our head's filled with things or our minds are busy, the breath is always here in the present moment. So as we go through this meditation, your minds will wander. It's perfectly natural. Worries, anxieties, things I've got to do, even judgments. What am I doing this for? This isn't working. I can't relax. Just notice these and come back to the breath or the body part that we'll be bringing attention to. So now you have this narrow focus of your breath, wherever that is for you. Start to bring an awareness down your body, down your legs, past your knee, to your ankles, and to both feet. Are there any sensations in your feet? Maybe the temperature, can you notice if they're cool or warm? And if you can't notice anything, then just label it as not noticing. And start to bring attention now to your ankles. Your shins, your calves. Bringing attention now to your knees. What can you feel in your knees? Bringing attention now to your thighs. Backs of your upper legs. Bringing attention now to both legs all together. Start now by imagining that you're breathing all the way down your body, down your legs, to your toes, and out from your toes, up your legs, up your body, and through your nose. If you're noticing any discomfort in your body now, can you just breathe into that? Imagining putting breath into that area. That can sometimes soften any areas of discomfort. But if it becomes too discomfort, then just move mindfully, noticing the change in how you feel as you move. Being aware of that. Bringing your attention now to your hips, your pelvis, all the organs that are within the pelvis. And now to your abdomen. Again, noticing that rise and fall. And now to the lower back. Breathing into the lower back, bringing attention to this area. Bringing attention now to your chest. To your upper back. Bringing attention now to your arms. Breathing down your arms, past your elbows, into your hands, to the ends of your fingers. Noticing the sensations in your fingers. Bringing attention now to your head. Your forehead, your jaw, noticing any tensions arising here, relaxing them if you can. And bringing your attention to the whole of your body, breathing into the whole of your body. Can you get a sense of peace? Can you get a sense of strength? Okay being just here, right now, in this present moment. Nothing else to do. Strong in presence. And when you're ready, start to wiggle your fingers a little, maybe wiggle those toes, and bring your eyes to an open. Have a little stretch if that feels good. Big deep breath and yawn it out. Letting go. Well, that was the body scan, guys. How was that?
It always makes me want to yawn. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but that's exactly where I want to end up.
Yeah, oh, it does for me too. It's a good thing. It's a letting go yawning is wonderful. Wonderful. How is that for everybody else? Anybody got any feedback on the body scan?
Lovely. It was lovely. I moved to the sofa with my blanket.
Good for you. It can be done lying down. Great, Rebecca. Lovely.
I turned my screen off. I thought no one needs to see that.
Lying down on the job. That's what mindfulness is about. Good stuff. Anybody else got anything to say on the body scan?
I think it just makes you feel very relaxed, and I think because you are so focused on that, you switch off from everything else, and I think that's why it's so helpful.
Good, thanks, Alice. Yeah. Now, meditation, when we do silent meditations, which we try to cultivate, guided meditations are a good way of getting into meditation, but ultimately we're trying to do a bit more silence. You won't always feel relaxed. You won't always feel calm because you're actually trying to be present for how you are. So if you're feeling tense or stressed, that might be how you feel in your meditation, but that's all right. That's a great meditation because you're now becoming aware of it. And once you're aware of it, you can do something about it. But often we're not aware, are we? We're distracted with the busyness of doing, which means that we can neglect how we are, and that will affect our work, affect our relationships, etc. But good, it's good to get relaxed because we perform better when we relax. So if relaxation comes, all the better.
Zach,
Yeah.
Tony here. May I ask, without your voice there, how do we get into that zone? Because I found that very relaxing, and I find it very difficult to relax. But I really dropped into that. I almost dozed off to sleep, to be honest. But your voice was guiding me through that. Obviously, we can't carry you around in our pocket during the course of the day. So when we take the time out for one of these breaks, how do we get into that zone, for want of a better word?
Well, I mean, there are apps. I can certainly send you a body scan that you can put on your phone, and you, if you particularly like my voice, if my voice puts you to sleep, then I can send you that. But also on YouTube, there's the body scan on YouTube, which is a good. And if you put the body scan, in fact, I'll put it in the chat just at the end. A particular app I use, which is of a guy that was a professor at Oxford University. And he does one. I'll put that in the chat, and you could download that, and then you just use your earphones and go for that. But
perfect, thank you.
Glad you enjoyed it. Super. There's a little bit more, guys, I've got on autopilot I wanted to share with you. Unless anyone wants to ask any more questions or feedback, we could hopefully get a little bit more of an idea on autopilot if we've got time. I know we've only got about 8 minutes left, but if that's all right, do you think that'll be all right?
I think autopilot would be a great thing to finish with.
Super duper. Okay. Forgive me if I go slightly quicker than I normally would, but I'm conscious of you guys have given yourselves 45 minutes for this. But autopilot. So why am I talking about autopilot? What's this mindfulness teacher doing talking about autopilot? You're probably thinking. So autopilot is this wonderful human adaptation where we can program ourselves to do something, and then we can think about something else. So driving is a great example, isn't it? We drive on autopilot. We know how difficult it is when we start to learn to drive because we can't do it on autopilot. So it's very mechanical, isn't it? And we're kind of feeling a bit rubbish about it, and it's tiring mentally to learn to drive. But once we've got it, we're on autopilot. Great adaptation. What a wonderful thing to have. But the problem is this, is we can start to mind wander when we're on autopilot. And the better at autopiloting we are in other aspects of our life, not just driving, we can start to mind wander from the very things that we're doing. Well, what's the problem with that? I guess, well, there's quite a lot of problems because you're missing out on life. So if you agree that life is only really lived when you're present for the moments that you're in, that's where life is lived. That's where you are alive. If you're not present for it, then you're not living in that moment, that period of time. And if you're autopiloting lots of things, you're not really alive for them. You're missing out on aspects of your life. There's other things that happen as well, but I'm going to talk to you quickly about your morning routine, because we all have a morning routine, and that involves getting out of bed. It involves having some breakfast at some point, having a shower, getting dressed, brushing our teeth, leaving the house, perhaps driving to work or getting the train. And all of that you've done thousands of times. So it's autopilot, isn't it? How many times have you left the house and gone, oh, did I lock the door? Did I lock the door to the house? Did I turn the iron off? I can't remember turning the iron off or not. We've all done it, haven't we? We've all forgotten because we're not present for it. We're thinking ahead to the next thing we've got to do. So imagine your routine in the morning starts at 7 and your meeting's at 10. You've got 3 hours of all this stuff that you do in the morning that you may not be present for because maybe you're thinking about your meeting. That's 3 hours of your life gone that you're not present for. How much else do you do on autopilot? How much other parts of your life are you not really present for? Because the problem is when you're on autopilot and you're thinking about something else, you're practicing being non-present. And whatever we practice, we get good at doing, even if it's detrimental to ourselves. So by being good at autopilot and mind wandering means you're missing out on life. But it also means this: you're carrying anxieties and stress, because becoming present interrupts anxiety and stress so we can actually be present for it and do something about it. We can relax. But continuing our mind wandering while we're doing activities just means we're distracting ourselves from actually how we are. So imagine your morning. Imagine you're getting up tomorrow morning. What could you do to bring more awareness to the things that you do? And I'm not saying that you have to suddenly enjoy having your shower and go, yeah, I'm having an amazing shower, it's just brilliant. Or getting out of bed was so good this morning, I couldn't believe how wonderful it felt. It's not about that. This is about bringing attention purposefully to practice being present. So in your shower, you could bring your dog, as in this photo. That would definitely make you present, wouldn't it? But can you notice the temperature of the water on your skin? Just notice it. How does it feel? What does it make my skin do? What does the soap feel like in my hand? And you're probably sitting there thinking, well, I know what soap feels like, but actually bring some awareness to it. What does it really do that with it in the morning? And go, oh, what can I smell? What citrus fruits can I smell in my soap? And this might sound like really easy, strange stuff to do, but we're just cultivating being present by using our senses. By using our senses, it will make us present. It's kind of a distraction to practice coming into the present moment. And this is how we can practice mindfulness through the things that we do in our day. We don't have to add any more things to do to be mindful. We just become mindful of the things we're already doing. Going for a walk, for example, is a great one that Rebecca brought up, and I know Steph, you do with your dog. It's being on your walk. Use the senses. If you're getting the tube and from in London, I know Tony, you're in an office in London, however you got to your office, and if you do it regularly, can you take a different route? Have a look around. Be present for that small amount of time that you're walking to the office. Perhaps try and let go of the thoughts of work and just be present for that, because you're then practicing being present for the moment. And when you do that, you're better focused, you develop resilience. So can you think of a couple of things that you could do from tomorrow that would make you more present for your morning? Could you make your bed? Could you make your bed to the best that you can? Bringing full attention to making your bed. It's also lovely to get back into a lovely made bed, isn't it, in the evening? But can you see it as a practice of mindfulness, not just something that's, oh, I've got to make the bed, or oh, I've got to have a shower, oh, I've got to have breakfast, as something you have to do. Use it as a practice of being present. So yeah, what 2 things can you do tomorrow that you could commit to being more mindful? I'm conscious we're going to run out of time, but I'll leave you with this quote. This is from William George, a board member of Goldman Sachs. The main business case for meditation is that if you're fully present on the job, you'll be more effective as a leader, you'll make better decisions, and you'll work better with other people. That's the reason to do meditation. That's the reason to be mindful.
Zach, that was absolutely great. Thank you. I don't know whether anyone has any quick questions before we sign off. We do have a couple of minutes. Zach's contact details are in the chat, and please do check out his website, because he not only does sessions like this, but he also does cook-alongs, which I am desperate to be part of. And he's just mentioned one where he does mindfulness and baking, I think you just said, which sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
So please do connect with Zach and check out his website. And if any of you have any last-minute questions, please feel free to unmute, ask the questions, pop them in the chat. And the only final thing to say is thank you, Zach, for this session. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And if you are able, please do donate to Inez's charity. And it looks like we have a calm baby there, Lyndon.
Yeah, what do you charge by the hour? That's what I'm now.
Full-time carer's position. She looks very content.
Super.
Yeah, we're good. Mindfulness is definitely for her, I think.
Oh, that's a win. That's a pleasing win.
That's a definite bonus.
Yeah, happy to field any questions. I mean, I know it's 1:15, but if people want to stay on and ask any questions, happy to answer anything or anything you want to hear or talk about.
Zach, we'd like to have a chat with you offline at some point about rolling out what you've done today for our wider heads of teams in the first instance, really.
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you, Tony.
So,
Tony, what's your business name?
Number 5 Barristers Chambers.
I'll introduce you this afternoon.
Yeah, please do. I'm in London and in meetings until I think 7:30 this evening down here, then travelling back. So it's going to be tomorrow, but those present in this room, which are 3 of us, have found that very useful. So thank you.
Great. No, thank you. Thanks for partaking in this. And that's great feedback.
Thanks very much. I think a couple of people have had to pop off. So unless there's any more questions, I will bring this to a close. Thank you.
Thank you very much.